Hi, I'm Beth, and this is Identity Shift. Well, it's really good to be back with you again. And for a while, I've been wanting to prepare a series on grief, but I've kind of stopped and started just because everybody's grief experience is unique. But I have a lot of thoughts and a lot of experiences to share, and in a way, I didn't want to go back there. And then my wonderful mom started cancer treatment, and it just seemed a little too close to home to be talking about grief. But now I'm in a position where she's doing better, and I feel more like I can talk about grief and loss and share some of my wisdom and breakthrough with you. I realize that grief and loss is such a difficult topic for everyone. There isn't anyone who enters into grieving with joy. It's quite the opposite. But I really want to encourage you, if you are in a position where you've experienced loss, that it's really, really essential that you walk through your grief. You can't go around it, you can't go under it, you can't put it to the side, and nobody else can grieve for you. Grief is a very important process. It's actually a physical process that your body needs to go through in order to get rid of the toxins that build up in your body because of the sadness and the overwhelm. And I also just want to, I guess, maybe debunk some myths. I've had a lot of experiences in my 10 years as a widow, my 11 years as a widow, and things that have happened to me before that. So maybe I'll start by sharing just briefly my own story and my journey with loss. I was 9 when my dad died of cancer. He was 33 and my mom was 32. And that was my first experience of death in my life. It was one of those things where my mom really had to kind of renegotiate everything in her life. And so she joined a widows and widowers group where she met a lot of older people who she found were really not functional at all. There were women who didn't know how to put gas in their car and didn't know where the bills were, how the bills were paid, or where things were kept, or what tools to use. And then men who had no idea how to sew on a button, let alone do laundry or cook for themselves. So she felt really strongly that her kids are going to need to be able to learn how to be independent and look after themselves. And she also realized that there were some in her widows and widowers group that had been there a really long time and had never progressed beyond those initial stages of grieving someone. Had been kind of stuck in this deeply sad place and feeling like everything was lost and there was nothing to look forward to. So my mom taught me from a very young age that grief needs to be gone through, not stopped in. And she also taught me not to be afraid to grieve. And I'm really grateful for that because I experienced all kinds of losses as adults, as all of us do. Personally, I've experienced changes from one country to another, ending of relationships, moving out of a job and into a job. And I've also experienced infertility, which was very difficult and very long. And finally, I was widowed as well as losing my dad. So grief comes in so many forms, and in every situation, your body is going to react to that. And I think one of the biggest myths that I didn't expect is that people almost act like grief is contagious. And it's really hard for them to deal with the emotion that you're feeling. So they might say something that they think would make you feel better, like, oh, it'll work out, it'll be okay, or you're so strong. Those sorts of statements really don't fix anything. And if you've received them, you'll know that in my case, they just made me feel angry. And like I just didn't want to talk to people at all in any depth because I couldn't deal with the emotion that it created. Just the frustration and not feeling heard was very hard. But you'll also know in grief that there are just really awkward, uncomfortable aspects to it that nobody really likes. And so it's very tempting to just say, I'm just going to set this aside and I'm going to just not deal with that. And in my experience, not dealing with it doesn't mean it will go away. There's a myth out there that grief just needs time. I actually read that in a book today. And I thought, that isn't really true. Grief doesn't just disappear with time. Maybe it seems a little bit, there's dust covering it, or maybe it doesn't seem so painful if you just don't think about it. But keeping yourself busy and trying to do other things to distract you, entering into a new relationship when another relationship has ended, those things don't stop the actual grief. So you really do have to set aside time to deal with it. How enriched are they who find their strength in the Lord. Within their hearts are the highways of holiness. Even when their paths wind through the dark valley of tears, they dig deep to find a pleasant pool where others find only pain. He gives to them a brook of blessing, filled from the rain of an outpouring. Psalm 84, verses 5 and 6, the Passion Translation. I really want to encourage you, if you are in a grief situation now, you're grieving a loss of any kind, your journey is unique. How you feel about grief is your feelings, and you are entitled to your feelings. It's absolutely fine to be you and where you are, and no one else can tell you if you're stuck or if you are messed up or if you are justified. Nobody else really can know, even if they've experienced the exact same situation. So be absolutely, I'm not sure what the right word is, be absolutely confident that however you're experiencing grief is your way of experiencing it. I'm just going to bless you before I close. Lord, I thank you for the person who's watching right now, whether they know you or not. And I just pray for your peace upon them as they think about their stages of grief, the loss that they've experienced, and as they feel the peace of your presence. Would you just bless them with peace. Amen, and I will see you next time.